I shall pass through this world but once, and any good that I can do, or kindness that I can show, let me do it now, for I shall not pass this way again. Stéphane Grillet.
During those years, people got married early. I was married early and had a dog, a husband, an apartment. He had a job. And Sargent Shriver contacted me and said that President Kennedy would like me to apply for the Peace Corps. And I didn't even know what the Peace Corps was. That is truly what happened.
This is an episode about answering the call, whether it comes from a widowed father in Nigeria, a Maasai student in Tanzania, or a couple of guys who happen to be named John F. Kennedy and Sargent Shriver. Diane Raleigh not only answered the calls, but she found herself needed in each situation, again and again stepping up for those in need. Answer the call, step up, repeat. I'm Christopher Wurst, and this is
Soft
Power.
Powerful.
Soft
Power.
Powerful stories.
Powerful.
Soft
Powerful. Stories.
I grew up in a small town in New Jersey that was very middle class. Everybody was dressed the same. Every house looked the same. There were absolutely no stores except for one gas station. And the rest was covered with cabbage. I'm not joking. Cabbage fields. So here was this person that I look back and I can't even tell you anything about what was going on. It just seems so flat. I mean, nothing, no conflicts, no different colors, no different houses, nothing. So that's where I began. It was my senior year. I was very upset about the Hungarian Revolution. I don't know how I got connected to it or why, but I decided to organize the entire school, which was small, and each person went out and washed windows and did things in the yard and brought back money. Before I knew it, I had this check. They were making a big deal about it, and I ended up in Washington in the White House. It was amazing and hardly anything that this kid coming from cabbage fields would have expected. That's the biggest thing that happened before I went to college. When I was in college the freshman year, the world was still a lot like my hometown. I mean, I was in a sorority and we had to be in the house by 10 at night. I mean, nobody would even believe that today. However, when I was a sophomore, I was majoring in political science, and the head of the department asked me if I would join a group to go and start a Syracuse in Italy program. And I said yes. So I go to Italy. I was very fortunate to stay with a wonderful family. They took me in as a family for 6 months. You know, they not only hold their utensils differently, but their political situation, how they view the world. That was my first and the biggest change in my life. Because I was close to the family, including the two grandparents, I found out that both of them had been interned in a German concentration camp. And that just knocked me off my feet. I could not fathom that. And then I learned about the Civil War right then in northern Italy. So I began to hear about a war, about people. I mean, none of this was in my background, none of it whatsoever. And I came back not the same person, and I found the university kind of dull.
And the food suddenly wasn't as good as you remembered it after eating in Italy for 6 months.
I loved it. And Sargent Shriver, who had been attached to that experience in Italy, contacted me and said that President Kennedy would like me to apply for the Peace Corps. And I didn't even know what the Peace Corps was. And after much discussion, my husband and I decided to say yes. We gave the dog to my mother. We said, okay, we're on our way. I'm not sure what I thought we were going to go in. However, Somalia, I lived in Mogadishu, and it is an Italian town with trees and delicious food, and it's got the most gorgeous location on the Indian Ocean. So it was great, and it was fun. Then there was some political problem, which of course still has not ended. And they moved us, my husband and I, to a rural area in Nigeria. They had built houses for people in an oil company, but then they abandoned it. So there were houses that were empty, but they put us in it. I don't remember cars around. There were very few cars, a few trucks maybe going through. All sand on the one hand where we lived, but there were a lot of forests around us. It was very strange because in those forests at that time, you could have people coming out all dressed up in warrior outfits. It was just exciting. And this kid coming from this place where one time every week my family had pancakes for dinner because we didn't have enough money to have more. And the town, everybody had the same pancakes, I think. And I went from that to this kind of thing. And they would come out of this bush crazily dancing, and it was so exciting. The fears and all of that, I don't ever remember having. We were placed in a remote village with one building, and all of the stores were falling apart. They told me I had 6 hours a week to teach school. What in heaven's name am I going to do? I went into this, quote, little town, and in that town, there was one building made out of cement, and it was used as a well baby clinic. So I went in and I helped them make their pockets a little better, and we did well together and so forth and so on. And then they told us we had to close it up because it was doing so well and the government was opening up something further away. The day that happened, a man came to me with a 3-month-old child who weighed 5.5 pounds and was suffering from kwashiorkor. He said to me, would you please take this baby to the hospital? I said, of course. So I took it to a hospital quite far away, and they said, I'm terribly sorry. We do not take babies whose mother died in childbirth. And here I was holding on to this baby, and there was no avenue of help except that I took the baby for a year into my own home because there was nothing else to do. And her name is Chikwem, and so she became part of our family. In so doing, I recognized that building could now be used for a home for motherless babies. My husband said to me, we are not keeping that baby. So I took the baby back. And he said, they can go against us and on and on and on if the baby dies. And then he went away a couple days later. And I went out to that village. And I got as many people together. And I said, I am willing to take this child. But if anything happens, I want you on my side. That's how I got the village to understand what I was doing.
That's very courageous. Was that something that was coming as a surprise to you, or was this a part of your character that you always knew was there? Or it was just happening in the spur of the kind of dramatic moment?
Yes, you're using these adjectives, dramatic. I don't know what was wrong with me. It all seemed so normal. There was nothing that stopped me, nothing, no fears, taking that baby, and I never had a sister or brother or anything. I didn't know how to change a diaper. I didn't know anything. And I had to find diapers because they didn't use, everything. Yeah, that's totally changed everything for me. I was never the same person. How can you be the same person when you get involved with a father in the family? It's just so out of your realm of understanding in the past. But when it comes to do, it's almost like you must do this now. Not must, but this is for you to do. I don't mean religiously or anything. It just seemed that it was the thing to do, and it was gratifying.
So did you end up having the child for a year?
Yeah. Well, close to a year. During that time, she had to be christened in the Catholic Church. And I'm not Catholic, but I took her and had my head covered and did it all. But they wanted to name her Diane, and it is not a Catholic word. So I can't remember what we called her, but her name was Chiquem. Now, in order to start anything in any country, I'm telling anybody, you don't come in from the top and say, you need this and that and the other thing. No. You come from the bottom up, and that's how it will be sustainable in the future. So I spoke to the head of the town, the nuns, the patients, all these people to say, do I have your approval? And they agreed, because they could have said, no, we don't want that. Religion doesn't allow us, or I don't know what they could have said, but they didn't. And there you go.
Do you remember when you really started feeling confident that you were making your way in that society that was so different than what you had known before?
I don't think I looked at it like you're giving me an intellectual question. I was thinking, okay, they need this. This place doesn't look bad. We can build it up. And then I started going to this town 2.5 hours away that sold everything. And I asked and the man was not nice to me. And I was asking him for white paint. And he said, how much do you need? And I said, 1, and I didn't finish. So I thought I was getting a gallon, and I got a drum. And that was the beginning of Diane saying, never again, anticipate less. And that's how I got a lot for the clinic. Yeah. I established a motherless baby home. Piece by piece, I got it together. And I went online the other day, and it said up there, which I had heard that the Red Cross took it over, and it's still there.
That's amazing.
And I've lost the child because Nigeria has been split since then, and there's been war, and I can't find her. But by now, I don't want to even tell you how old she'd be.
You said you lost touch with her. Were you in touch with her in her early part of her life?
I came back in a year to see her. She didn't recognize me. She ran around like this 2-year-old darling and warmed my heart unbelievably. I got home, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to go in the Foreign Service, but at this point, I didn't see how I could fit that into my life. And someone said to me, you'd make a good social worker. And I said, a social worker, what is that? And they said, well, we know someone that will tell you what it's about. And I went to hear about what it was. And at the end of the conversation, she said, would you like a job? We'd like you to join us. And I said, please, I'd have no idea what this is about. I said, everybody here has a master's and I have nothing. I have no idea. She said, that's perfect. Just come. Well, to be honest with you, I was a hand in a glove. And I worked below poverty level because this was focused on children who were abused and neglected. I was able to see them twice a week or 3 times a week, not like today. And that's what I was for years until I got a PhD in psychology.
You had gone from setting up this clinic for orphan children, and now you're back in the U.S. working with children in extreme poverty and neglect and abuse. It seems like there's a pattern there.
Yeah, but I didn't see a pattern there. You know what I mean? I was over there doing that, and then someone said to make a good social worker, and I swear I didn't know what that was. We moved to California. I continued as a social worker before having children, worked in San Jose. You're going to smile at this. One of the jobs I had was to drive and communicate and care for women who wanted to give up their children, and there was no abortion allowed or whatever. And I would drive them to a place in San Francisco and work with them. Crazy things I did.
They do all seem to stack up in kind of a pattern, though.
I do. When you look back, there's a pattern. And you won't, at the end of it all, it's a big pattern. Yeah.
What were some of the skills and some of the things that you learned in your Peace Corps experience that you carried with you?
I really found my ability to understand other people. Plus, this is something I wish I could explain to the world, but when I say it, I don't think they're going to be happy when I say it. I believe that at birth, every child in the world is the same. And you could say, oh, that's crazy. No. What changes them, I'm a psychologist too. What makes them who they are is their culture, their religion, and everything that their society stands for. And so are you. And half of it is genes, which are no different than yours. So if you adopt a child from anywhere, Mongolia, anywhere, it can be just like the child you delivered, except for the genetic issues. But that's really important to see somebody. That's why now it's so difficult to see what's going on, because you understand that those people could be your father, your mother.
And that's the whole, I guess, point of this podcast, is to, through stories, illustrate to people just the absolute importance of engaging with other people, wherever.
Wherever. I've had a practice in Hawaii and a full practice in Palo Alto, and I've seen money, and I've got a whole theory. I'd like to write a book about money, because that's the other thing. This is an aside, but if you go on any town, any place, and stay in the best hotels and have somebody pick you up and take you here and eat, you go home and you don't know a darn thing about that country. Walk the streets of Istanbul. They are the nicest people in the world. The whole world is there for you. They don't look like it, some of them, but when you get close to them, they do. I had a very full private practice, but there was something I said to myself for several years: I've got to go back to Africa. What was behind that? I have no idea, really. I've got to go back and do one more project. And then I met someone who started a kindergarten in a little village in Tanzania. And she said, I'm going in next month. Do you want to come with me? And I went. And I ended up way, way out there in the bush. And there was a woman who came up to me, an old woman. She said, we have no place to have a baby. We have no medical help for women. And I went to myself, bingo. And within that 2-week period, we met a man who owns a huge number of these lodges. He's Maasai, got a heart of gold. And I told him, and he says, before you leave, go to the government, get the plans, get the money, and I'll build it. So that is the beginning of how it all happened. And today it is 15 years I've been working. Twice a year I go. And every day I do things on the computer. It's turned out to be phenomenal. But we did go through, don't misunderstand me, it wasn't easy. We went through 2 bad doctors. The government's still a problem, all kinds of problems, but we are really doing well. We have 733 children in the school. We're developing the surgical unit, and somehow the government gives me very little, but they gave me this gorgeous dental chair, and they gave us a dentist, a woman dentist. And so we have that right now. So we're moving ahead. And the women, what they do is 25 women come together and they all put in money every Sunday. And then they loan the money out. But it's getting them empowered, really empowered and excited. And now they're buying cows. Men only bought cows. They're buying cows that are small, and then they're taking care of them and selling them. When I talked to the men, I was worried that they'd be annoyed. No, they're thrilled with it. So it's just moving ahead beautifully. Because of my age and how long I've been doing this, I'm trying to now find an avenue of sustainability.
Tell me a little bit about Maasai culture. What are some of the challenges that you're up against?
Yeah, the word challenges is probably not quite right, but I need permission. Personally, I feel I want to have their support, but there are areas I cannot get it. Female items are very difficult. I tried to start bringing in toilets. There are no toilets. And I do understand. I mean, these people are not Africans out of the normal African person. The Maasai have a culture that is being split up by the government, as you may or may not know. They knew how to live and do well, but now they're pushed into a small place. They can't take their animals like they did before. They can't roam like they did before. So they're going through a huge change. Where I find it difficult are issues that they don't want to budge on. Women things that drive me crazy. And they do marry and have children with children who are 12 years old. And I'm trying to make those changes. But I can't do that. It's not Diane's job.
What is your favorite story when you think back on this project?
How happy, pleased they are with this community. This community is something they never saw. But in 15 years, and don't forget, some of these kids weren't even born when I started. They're all going to school, and then we pass them on with money to go to secondary school, and then some of them go to college, and it's unbelievable how wonderful it is. But the majority of men and women there seem to be locked into the past. Don't forget, their food is milk, blood, and beef. So we can't think of these people as just Africans. No, they're not. I've crossed all the way all Africa. No, they're totally different. But they're in a very difficult position where change is inevitable. And I don't mean change is good, but it's inevitable. I guess the message is, but not everybody wants to do these kinds of things. But if you have the inclination and desire to have other experiences, you don't only have to help people, you can do other things in other countries. But if you found out that people are just like you, and it's just the most exciting thing when push comes to shove. And people say, how can you travel alone? Alone? I'm never alone. My husband says, God forbid that anybody sits next to you on an airplane. But the thing is, I get to know people. I get everything. I'm in Istanbul and I'm a bit lost for some place to have lunch. And I'm standing on the corner and this couple in their 20s comes up to me and says, "Can we help you?" That's Istanbul. That's the Turks. I said, "Could you?" Yeah. And they walked me down the road, took me in and showed me a place. I said, "Come on and we'll have it together." I mean, people are people. That's what the message I wish the world would know. And it's very hard because it's just very hard to think that all these people are the same at birth.
Well, that means we're coming to the end of the show, but I don't want to stop until I give Diane a chance to answer our dubious Aunt Deb.
Personally, I could never go across the world. Besides, aren't there enough problems here?
There certainly are a lot of problems in the United States, and if you'd like to engage in them, that is terrific, just terrific. If you'd like to go abroad, I just want you to know that they're all over the world, there are problems. And if you'd like to experience or you see on TV an area that you would like to go and help, just do it. I look back and I say, I always said yes. But don't worry about fears and what if. You could go if you want to. But if you want to stay home, you can stay home. But helping people really adds to your life hugely.
When we first connected, before I hit the record button, you were telling me that when you look back on your life, it's just kind of astounding to you. Can you tell me that again?
Yes. You're going to record it?
Yeah, we're recording.
When you asked me to do this podcast, I had never been on a podcast. And it made me look at my life a bit. And I went, oh my heavens, this all happened in my life because you don't recognize it. You know, and when you think of it, the main thing was that half of these things I did not initiate. They came to me and said, do you want? It totally changed my life, totally. And what I started to see, because of your asking me, I started to see how it did begin in Italy. Pretty traumatically, actually. You would think, oh, Italy wouldn't be. Oh, yes, it was. It was. And then the next thing was going to the Peace Corps, which was phenomenal. But going to Mogadishu first was kind of easy. And going to the bush was a whole different phenomenon. But I don't remember being anxious. I remember not knowing what in heaven's name I'm going to do. And there was no help coming in from the Peace Corps or anything. Nobody was, you were just stuck there.
That's the magic of it. I was thinking to myself when you were talking just now that there are very few people, I think, who can reminisce about Mogadishu in the good old days. This beautiful, wealthy colonial town, because that's not how it's been for a very, very, very long time.
Oh my heavens, if you could see it then.
Dr. Diane Raleigh is a clinical psychologist in private practice for 45 years. For the last 15 years, she has been the director of Almaty Community, providing health and education to over 3,000 Maasai in Tanzania. She is currently focused on sustainability for the community, including finding avenues of funding and support. She was in the first group of the Peace Corps volunteers, serving briefly in Mogadishu, Somalia, and later in Nigeria, where she founded the Owerri Motherless Baby Home. For more information about the Almaty community, go to almatyclinic.org or check out the show notes at softpowerfulstories.org. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a nice review. We'd like that. We'd also love to hear from you. You can get in touch with us on our website at softpowerfulstories.org. There you'll find out more about each episode, about the guests, and see pictures of them in action. Special thanks to Kathy Zilski, as always, the voice of our dubious Aunt Deb, who she is nothing like. I'm the host and producer of Soft Powerful Stories, Christopher Wurst. Until next time.